I think we need to start up top with the Paul George domino, because that seems to be the thing after our first minor trade, no pun intended, happened with Josh Giddey and
Let's
Alex
go.
Caruso being traded for each other. I think that we are waiting on a major trade, which is the Paul George. I literally didn't even think of that until I just said it out loud, and then I was like, oh man.
That's how ingrained the jokes are, pure reflex.
Yes. So we have some more information. Obviously last week we get the report from Shams kind of out of nowhere that's like the Sixers are good on Paul George, and I'm like, all right, what's going on here? Because all we've heard for fucking months is that the Sixers are interested in Paul George. Going back to before the trade deadline, the Sixers are interested in Paul George. They're carving out cap space. There might be mutual interest. The Clippers don't want to give the bag. What has changed between now and then? And about a week ago, Brian Windhorst said that he could potentially explore opt-in and trade scenarios. Now, this has happened before. Chris Paul and James Harden famously have both been traded in opt-in and trade scenarios. Chris Paul to the Rockets back in 2017, and then James Harden last offseason when Daryl Morey held him hostage for a few months before he finally traded him to the Clippers. Now, it does sound more and more like that scenario is probably going to unfold. I think that's why the Sixers got out ahead of it and said, we're going in another direction, because Paul George obviously expressed that he doesn't want to come here, because if he did want to come here or to the Magic, one of those two teams, which were the two realistic teams that were floated out there for Paul George, I think that he would have just done it. There's really no reason for Paul George to opt in and get traded to either of those teams. They both have cap space. They both can offer the 4 full year max, which is similar to what the Clippers can offer because of the age 38 rule. They can't even offer that 5th year. So from what I understand, I think that he is open to moving teams, but if he moves teams, it has to be to where he picks. And it is in this opt-in and trade scenario. And the rumored names are the same ones that we thought were going to be the teams. The Warriors, which was my first thought, the Knicks, and the Rockets. So of those 3 teams, which from Paul George's perspective and from their perspective do you think makes the most sense for him?
So you said Rockets,
Warriors, and Knicks are the 3 teams that are rumored right now.
Not the Lakers, huh?
The Lakers weren't, but I also think that the Lakers weren't because I think it's more just that, like, I think Paul George knows they would never trade him to the Lakers. Like, I just think that there's kind of a mutual understanding that, like, we're not going to trade you across town because it's just a bad look for us. And also we're like the little brother franchise. And like, what can they realistically offer other than Austin Reeves, who they seemingly do not want to trade, that would realistically be enticing for like D'Angelo Russell and Rui Hashimura and some picks? Like, I mean, I guess if the alternative is losing him for nothing, but in this scenario, you're not losing him for nothing because he doesn't want to go to the Sixers or the Magic. Because if he wanted to go to the Sixers or the Magic, then he could be like, all right, I'll just walk.
But the thing is, this is the Porzingis trade again. Like, I think people are going to be shocked by the low return. Because that's the thing. It's essentially
a little different than the Porzingis trade for one reason. Paul George makes almost $50 million, and it's a lot more to match in salary, as opposed to with that trade, it was just sending out Marcus Smart and like a few minimum players.
Yeah, Gallinari and
it was like Gallinari, Muscala. But what I'm trying to get at here is like it's easier to match on Porzingis's max than it is on Paul George's. So if any team trades for him, it might not be a huge haul, but the salary matching, you're probably going to have to give up rotation players in order to acquire him.
That's true, but I'm just saying, like, in terms of like people thinking about this in like terms of like value. Like, for example, I don't think that like precludes the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? Because you're just trying to get the salary back at that point. Like, you're trying to salvage this because the Clippers are so far above the tax, like above the tax and into the aprons and everything like that, that like Paul George could completely leave and they're still over the cap. Like there's no cap space. They might even still be in the tax, honestly, to be honest. Like, so it's like a no-win scenario for them outside of like Ballmer's pocketbook. And he doesn't really seem to like care about that. So I don't know. Like, I do think teams like the Lakers are like more involved because this is kind of the players have a little bit more power. This is how the Celtics were able to get Porzingis for like fucking nothing because he was like, I want to go to the Celtics or I'm walking for nothing. So Paul George does kind of get to dictate to the Clippers where he wants to go in this scenario, and they just figure out the package. So it's really which of these teams do we think that Paul George wants to play for? And, you know, maybe it's Houston. Maybe he wants to play with the King of Houston. Like, he seems impressed by Jalen Green. And I mean,
well, look, if we know anything about Paul George's history, he might look up to Ime Udoka as a guy. If you think about both of their off the court activities. I mean,
you think about it.
Look, there's a wrinkle in Paul George's Warrior scenario here. Seth Curry is married to to Doc Rivers' daughter, who Paul George famously cheated on, and I'm just saying. Yeah. Now, would the Warriors care about that? Maybe not, but it's definitely awkward at a minimum.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, the Knicks are an interesting fit. I think the thing that people need to remember about this is it's not even necessarily the team that has the most assets. It's going to be Paul George dictating this is where I want to go and this is what you're going to get back. Because the thing is, because the Sixers are out there, and this is why the Sixers are like the boogeyman of this offseason, is because they give all of these players leverage. Because normally when a guy says, I want to go here, like Damian Lillard did, they're like, that's awesome. I don't give a shit. Nobody's like actually going to sign you.
You're under contract for 4 years. And
nobody
you don't get to determine.
You don't get to determine. Paul George actually can be out of his contract in a week and a half, and he does not. And there is a team that hypothetically might like to sign him in the Sixers that does give him leverage. You know, like it's not like it's just Detroit and the Spurs, which like he would.
I think this is why they put the Shams tweet out there, because they don't want to be used for leverage. They don't want to be strung along by Paul George, and he'll be like maybe, and then the last second he chooses the opt-in and trade scenario. He gets traded to another place, and then they're fucking stuck with their dick in their hands, and they're like, great, we put all of our marbles into this, and we have nothing to show for the fact that we have put so much attention onto Paul George. And now, we have all this cap space, but like, what's our plan here now? If Brandon Ingram's traded, if Jimmy Butler's traded, look, I know they said today, they don't have any interest in Jimmy Butler because of they're going to put all this shit. Like, I don't even think that Jimmy Butler's realistic. Like, Paul George was always way more realistic than Jimmy Butler to me, but I just want to say like that none of these reports mean anything right now from any reporters. These are all leverage leaks from one side or another side trying to make it so that they don't have to pay as much in a trade or pay as much in a contract. Like anything that's being leaked right now is all just in contract negotiations and trade talks. So I wouldn't take anything at face value that like Ramona Shelburne or Brian Windhorst or whoever are saying, but it does seem more and more as we get closer to this that the Clippers are like, we've had almost a year where they could have just extended him and they've not. And now we have Paul George set up in the scenario where he can essentially dictate where he goes. But like, I'll put it to you like this. If I were the Clippers and he says, send me to Houston, and here's what they're sending back. Okay, ready? These are the contracts that the Rockets guaranteed today that they could trade. Okay. Jayshawn Tate, Jeff Green, and Jock Landale. That gets you to like 24 million of the 48 million that you need to match. And then they could throw in like Steven Adams or Dylan Brooks or one of those contracts and basically piecemeal it together to get to the point. If I'm the Clippers, I might just be like, fuck you, like leave. Like there's really like, I'm not taking back non-rotation play. Like Jayshawn Tate and Landale are like fringe rotation players. Jeff Green is like 38 years old. That's the scenario where unless I'm getting significant draft capital back, if I'm the Clippers, I'm telling Paul George, you can just go to Philadelphia or Orlando and we don't care about losing you for nothing. Because if the alternative is we don't even get legit rotation players back, then there's no advantage for the Clippers to do that really.
Yeah, they need to get something, which is, why I think teams that have a little bit more like that's why I think the Knicks are probably a more realistic one, because the Knicks, all of their rotation players are good. You know what I'm saying? Like, so 2 or 3 of those guys, if it's like Mitchell Robinson, who they've like been rumored to like have in trade talks, and like two, I don't know, who's like the most expendable
Okay,
of those
so
guys.
I can tell you
Yeah.
how this would work because I looked into this earlier.
Yeah.
It either has to be Julius Randle included, or it
Mhm.
has to be one of the Nova guys like Josh Hart.
Yeah.
So if they want to do this, it's like Julius, which actually, funny enough, someone said that Julius Randle's wife was apparently hanging out with Paul George's wife today in the Hamptons, and everyone made a big deal of it. And I'm like, wait, Julius Randle would be included in this trade. So I don't know why there's a connection there, because it would have to essentially be Randle and Bojan for Paul George. That could be like a straight up deal. But if you wanted to go the piecemeal route where you include multiple rotation players, you could guarantee Bojan's contract. You could throw in Mitchell Robinson, and then but you would have to trade Josh Hart. And their whole thing has been like, we're keeping the Nova guys together until we get like a potential superstar. And like Paul George is really good, but he's a top 25, top 30 player at this point of his career. He's not the top 10 guy that they've been aiming for. I think that he fits better with Brunson, and I think he would make them a better team for sure in the playoffs. But I also think that if we're looking at this scenario from like who they're trading, it has to be the Randle and Bojan package, or maybe even Randle and Mitchell Robinson can get you close to the money. I think it honestly, the thing is that Paul George makes so much fucking money. It gets you close with those two. But long story short on this, if he goes to the Knicks, I think you can work out pretty much a 2 players for 1 player swap. If it comes down to him going to all these other teams, it's going to be like 4 for 1. The Warriors are the same thing. Like the Warriors just don't have, unless they trade, even if they trade Wiggins, like it would be like Wiggins, Looney, Gary Payton II, Moody. Like it's 4 for 1 in most of these scenarios, with the Knicks having the one scenario where you could just do Bojan and Randle.
Yeah. And that's kind of the problem, right? Is that makes it like hard on. It makes it hard on like all of these guys, and there's not really, because I was trying to find like a star trade. Like I was trying to like figure out like, would they do like Murray or Trae Young for like Paul George? Like, is that a realistic framework? And I like thought about that, and it just
Hawks
like,
wouldn't want to.
That's the thing. Is it doesn't really make any sense. And then I started like getting into like the real slop pervert shit, and I was like,
yeah,
okay, is it a 3-team trade though? Like, could somebody like,
well,
could the Nets send like Dorian Finney-Smith?
Thing,
yeah,
the opt-in thing makes it a little bit so. There's a difference between a sign-in trade and an opt-in, because sign-in trades are very rarely like 3 or 4 teams. But the fact that he has to opt in, he's still under contract.
Yeah.
So making that work isn't quite as complicated as if like, okay, maybe Mitchell Robinson goes to the Wizards, and then the Wizards send like Marvin Bagley's salary or whatever to the Clippers.
You dodge all the weird rules about like hard capping your team and everything like that if it's a opt-in and trade.
Yeah.
Which is why everyone's trying to get it done. That's why when they tried to do the Brogdon trade, they just fucking shipped out Smart, because they needed to do that. They needed to make the other thing work in the meantime for that. So
I was gonna say the opt-in and trade part makes it a little bit easier to finesse when you're trying to put together all of these moves. But then again, there are teams that are second apron. There are like if the Warriors were to acquire him, for example, because we know they guaranteed Looney's contract today. They're talking about pushing back the guarantee date for Chris Paul's contract. And if they push back the guarantee date for Chris Paul's contract, that kind of indicates that they might be interested in something like this. But in that scenario, they're basically letting Klay Thompson walk to get under that second apron.
I think that's happening, by the way.
Yeah.
It sounds like to me like Klay is walking and leaving and probably going to the Magic, if I had to guess.
So do you like the Warriors fit with Paul George? Because I like the fit, but like, I guess my big thing is like,
do you want to be getting older? Like,
someone said, I can't wait until the Warriors pitch trading 34-year-old Klay Thompson for 33, going on 34-year-old Paul George as a way to get younger. Someone said that in the Discord, but it's like I understand that part, and also like, do you want to keep this astronomical tax bill still? Because if you do this trade, you still are paying Wiggins, you're paying Steph the supermax, Draymond like $25 million a year, and then you have to fill out the rest of your roster essentially with rookie contract and vet minimum guys. And my whole thing with this is like, it really comes down to me like, what are they willing to give up in the trade for me to like it or not? Like, if it is just what you were saying, where it's basically just like they were going to let Looney walk anyway, Klay was probably going to be gone. And Chris Paul is like at this point, like you're not worried about this age Chris Paul.
Chris Paul coming back to where it all sort of started.
Well, apparently the rumor was that he's going to go to one of the LA teams if he hits free agency, if they don't guarantee his contract. So it seems more and more likely that he's going to end up on the Clippers somehow. I don't know in what capacity, whether that even really makes any sense, but if they're to guarantee the Chris Paul contract, and then the trade from the Warriors perspective is like Chris Paul, which by the way, someone pointed this out. What an amazing situation Chris Paul was put into. The second straight offseason, he would have not got this contract guaranteed, but the team found a trade at the last second. Chris Paul has made $60 million off of just the teams wanting to trade his contract the last 2 years.
The GOAT.
Just if they guarantee his contract, I'm not positive on this. I'm just guessing, but I think he would be the second player in NBA history to make $400 million in his career, only second to LeBron.
That's nuts.
It's insane bag getting by Chris Paul here. But so if the scenario is like, okay, Chris Paul opts in, you have to throw in Looney just to make the money work, who, by the way, they were going to let walk anyway. They were talking about cutting him. So if it's just Chris Paul, Looney, Moses Moody, and like Gary Payton II, yeah, done. Like, and like maybe you have to throw in like a first round pick just because you have to incentivize it a little bit because they are trading you Paul George. But like if that's the framework, yeah, I'm not even thinking twice about it. If you go the other way and you say, okay, what if you have to include Kuminga? What if you, and I'm not like the highest on Kuminga, but like if I'm negotiating these trades, I'm like, fuck you. He wants to come here. I'm not giving you Kuminga. Like that's ridiculous from my perspective if I'm negotiating. Are you desperate to get off the Wiggins contract, or do you want to keep Wiggins if you get Paul George? Because then your starting five to me is getting a little bit more enticing. Because then it's like Steph at the 1, Wiggins at the 2, Paul George at the 3, Kuminga at the 4, Draymond at the 5. Like a lot of size around Steph, just like a defensive versatility, a decent amount of shooting, Draymond being the playmaking hub. Like that team on paper, that starting 5, especially because you would still have potentially like Pods or Trace Jackson-Davis if they're not included in the trade coming off the bench. Like from the Warriors perspective, I would totally get that. From the Clippers perspective, I might just be like, why do I want all this, no pun intended, slop coming back when it's like
to help our most hated team? Like I think they hate the Warriors more than the Lakers is an understated part of this. Like I know they play the same thing. To D-Bronk's question and the things, why would they do that? Because Chris Paul makes $20 million less. So you're getting the extra stuff around Chris Paul. But you've got a good point. Why? Like, it would need to be something sort of substantial. You know what I'm saying? I don't think just Looney is enough of a reason to do the deal and help a rival. Like, you might need to get Podziemski in the deal.
I was going to say,
yeah.
Do Pods or Trace Jackson-Davis move the needle at all? Because even if I'm the Clippers, I might just be like, I mean, like, look, we like them. Like, they're nice players. But, like, you're trading Paul George in this scenario. So, like, once again, how many – I think it's either, like – my guess is that if the Clippers are willing to do this, it's either they value Wiggins and don't think he's washed, and they try to get him in the trade to make the salary work instead of Chris Paul, or they really like Kuminga, or they're just trying to get draft capital back that they've lost over the last few years and get like 2 first-round picks in this trade.
I think my thoughts on what the Clippers are doing, I think they know that this team is not a championship team. It gets hurt all the time, and they don't want to lock themselves into it, which is why they're having issues with Chris Paul. I don't know. I don't totally understand why they hitched their wagon to Kawhi in that situation, but at the same time, they needed some banner tentpole star, and Kawhi's been a Finals MVP. So, you know, you've got him and finished. I don't think he never actually won MVP, but he finished second one year or third the Westbrook year.
He's won 2 Finals MVPs. So
yeah, so he's still there. You have Harden. which you might be able to re-sign at like a little bit of a lower number than Paul George. And then you can kind of start slowly backing away from this. And, you know, like that is enough to move into the building, and you can get if you can get some young guys back and a little bit of a new look where you're kind of trying some of this stuff out, some trades that you can move a little bit further on down the line, and you end up like cutting a little bit more salary. Like,
I think in order to sell it, really, like so from the Warriors perspective, I'm not giving up Kuminga. From the Clippers perspective, I need to have Kuminga, or I'm just saying you can walk.
Yes.
Because I'm like, really, like, yeah, it would be nice to keep the salary slots. And I will say it would be different if they were like, here's 2 first-round picks and 2 swaps. Then I'm like, okay, maybe we can move the Chris Paul expiring. Maybe we can move Looney and whoever with a pick to improve our rotation. Like, there are scenarios where you can kind of step ladder this, where it's like, all right, this is our team right now, but it's not our team locked in. Like, we have this plus the PJ Tucker expiring this upcoming trade deadline. If we can restock some of our draft capital and make a move later, then I might be fine with this, similar to how the Sixers did theirs last offseason.
Yeah.
Which, look, it's working out great for us. We're sitting here June 24th, and we have no idea what they're fucking doing. But in general, like, the Sixers got Nick Batum. At the time, it was Nick Batum, Marcus Morris, and Robert Covington. The thought was the 2 or 3 of these guys could be in our rotation, and then eventually it will get to the point where we can make another move with the draft capital that we got. The Clippers could do that element of it, but like you said, there are more layers to it, just because it is like you're making the Warriors better, undeniably. Yeah. They're basically giving up, especially if you don't get Kuminga or Wiggins, like, they're giving up basically guys that they were ready to let walk anyway, and they're replacing them with an all-star level talent that fits perfectly on their team. So, like, that's where I think it gets a little bit complicated and it gets harder for a deal to be made.
I think you need far out future picks to make it worth it, because you want to bet on an old team. That would be what I would want to do. If I'm making a rival better, it needs to be, I need to be getting like
2028 first.
Yeah, 2020, at least 2026 first, you know, like where it's 2 or 3 years out, and like all of these guys who are their core now are like ancient. So at that point, like, so.
Well, they did trade the 2030 pick, so they can't trade 2031 or 2029, but you could get, after the draft, you could get 26 and 28 from them. And if I could get 26 and 28 from them unprotected, I'm considering it. But also keep in mind, the Clippers have none of their picks until 2029 still, because this is why.
Well, it's to trade. It's to turn around and flip the Chris Paul.
No, I agree. I'm just saying this is why I don't get. This is why you could sit there and explain to me all day why they traded for Harden. This is why I'll just never understand why they did it. Because it was over. Like, you're now pivoting to a team that is undeniably going to be worse than the team that you just had. And you gave up your remaining draft capital to do it, when the reality of the situation should have been like, we should probably just blow this thing up now a year ago, or like get out ahead of what this. If you never wanted to pay Paul George and you were dead set on that, you knew that this was eventually going to come, and you kind of screwed yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. It seems weird to me. Like, I think it's going to be interesting how we see the Paul George thing go out. Like, Paul George is going to need to want to go there for this to be the opt in and go. He has a lot of control, and I think the package is going to surprise people. Because if the Clippers want to get something out of this, it needs to be something that is palatable to them. And I you know what though? Honestly, they might not be willing to take the embarrassment of accepting a subprime.
That's my whole thing.
Yeah,
especially because except for the Knicks, both of these other teams are in the West, and like. You know how we just had the conversation about with the Caruso trade and why we pulled our hair out from Chicago's perspective was because they didn't get any fucking picks in the trade?
Yeah.
Imagine making a trade with the Rockets like this and not getting any of their prospects. Like, they have 6 or 7 guys that should be realistically like on the table if you're trading an all-star player. And I know it's a little bit different because it's an opt-in and trade scenario, but like, if I'm not walking away with like at least even Jalen Green, like, I know that I'm like not the highest on Jalen Green.
That's
and I think
something though.
But like
Yeah.
you can turn around and pitch that to your fan. And like Jalen Green and James Harden have a relationship. Like there's potential there at least. But if I'm the Rockets, like the Rockets are an interesting team to me this offseason because we've heard for a year now they really want to make a push. Yeah. Did you hear the latest rumor about them in the draft?
No, it's they want Reed. That was what I was hearing was they want Reed. But
so the latest rumor that I heard behind the scenes that they weren't dead set on picking Reed. Like they were like, we like Reed, and like Reed or Klingon, if they're there at 3, we would be interested in both of them. Mm-hmm. But I think what is a possibility here, just based on what I heard and what Mark Stein reported, was that the Grizzlies might be willing to offer Marcus Smart and the 9th pick to trade up to 3 and take Klingon. And then they would trade back to 9. And then the two guys I heard that they like are Ron Holland and Jared McCain. But the thing from the Rockets' perspective, I know your mind's going crazy because you just heard Marcus Smart get mentioned.
I'm fascinated. They need a better point guard than Fred VanVleet, and they don't get a new car keys. Get out of the way. Give Marcus Smart all of these shiny toys. He'll be a wonderful tutor for Alman Thompson. He and Alman Thompson are basically the exact same player to me.
I was going to say Sam hasn't been this happy. Sam's happier than when the Celtics won the title. Just hearing this.
What do you mean?
Because not only two of your guys are involved in this trade, a trade up for Klingon, and Marcus Smart, and Smart getting.
I tried to do that in the mock draft. Somebody else brought this up about trying to get like Trae Young with Klingon, and they had him paired somewhere else weird. It was in Atlanta. They were saying that you just take Klingon instead of it, and I like that fit. So, because here's the thing with the Rockets that I think is so interesting about them. They have kind of the same thing, obviously to a lower extent, as the Pelicans, where I love the Pelicans as a trade destination for a lot of these guys that are normally like playoff non-starter like killers, like Trae Young and Darius Garland, who are smaller because they have the big wings and they have a ready-made infrastructure to kind of deaden that. And the Rockets not quite as much, but they do have Tari Eason, Jabari Smith, Amen Thompson's gonna be coming up. Yeah.
But about as good as you can get in terms of athletic wings.
That's what I'm saying. They're like ready made to like Trae Young, like I think would be a good fit there. Like they're ready made for like a real orchestrating like point guard. Like they are kind of a fucking Ferrari, and they have like Fred VanVleet in the driver's seat right now. And I think you could probably get someone who's a little bit better because there are so many good point guards. And the benefit of that Rockets scenario is there's nothing weird about it. The only weird thing is the Şengün thing. But if you are trading Şengün for one of these really high caliber guys and you get Klingon, who's like a much more conventional center, replacing that, I don't know. I think that's like really interesting to me. I think it's fine to keep Şengün too and do the inverted floor thing, but it makes for a very classically talented team that I've seen succeed in the playoffs. Like I know a team like that would do well in the playoffs.
So the thing about this though, this trade specifically, the Grizzlies trading up from 9 to 3, I would get it for the Grizzlies just because you get younger, like Klingon. Like I'm not like the biggest Klingon guy, but there's no way that guy isn't a starting center in the NBA.
Yeah.
So like if you have that guy who essentially replaces the Steven Adams hole that you just sent out to the Rockets a few months ago, I get it from their perspective. I don't know if with their scouting department, I'm skeptical that they would say, let's trade up from 9 to 3 in this draft and also give up a player that we just gave up real value for in the last draft to do it. I think that they're more likely to say, let's stay at 9. Let's get a guy that we could potentially like at 9 because we have really good scouts. And I think that they would say, we think that we could either, whether it's if Klingon goes earlier, we draft Zach Edey or Khalil Ware at 9, or maybe we go a completely different direction and we just take the best player available, whether it's like Ron Holland or whoever they like at 9, Devin Carter, someone like that. And I think that you could be looking at a scenario where like, I also don't love that fit. Like Marcus Smart on the Rockets, then your shooting is just fucked.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know.
You just don't have enough shooting.
All joking aside, that's probably not a very good fit.
Yeah.
To be honest, like Marcus Smart needs to go to like I don't know, like Marcus Smart could probably. I'm trying to think of a team that like kind of makes sense. Like, 'cause there's not a lot of teams that have like a super abundance of shooting in the NBA right now. Like everyone kind of needs it.
And if they
a
do,
little
they
bit.
usually are already locked up at guard. Like
Yeah.
honestly, a team that could probably use Marcus Smart would be like the Jazz, I think. Like a team that already has like perfect spacing, and right now they really only have like they apparently want to trade Colin Sexton. So like if they want to trade Colin Sexton, but like most teams right now, I think are pretty. I think this is the situation we always find when we go across this. Most teams are pretty set at guard. Like I think that most teams know what they have with their guards, and they're fine kind of moving forward with whoever they have, which is why like a few years ago, if Trae Young or Darius Garland were put on the trade market, they would have had these massive markets, and now they get put on the trade market and everyone just wants wings. Like no one wants the guards anymore. Which
even Brandon Ingram, who is a big guard, like doesn't have like the most robust like trade market right now. Like I do think like teams are generally getting a little bit smarter, because I feel like Brandon Ingram would have gone for like 4 first-round draft picks like 5 years ago.
I mean, DeJounte Murray just went for 2 picks and 2 swaps 2 summers ago, and like that's
everyone knew that was pretty insane.
I mean, we didn't. Yeah, I think we didn't like it, but we also were on the kind of we were on the fact that it was a pump and dump scenario where they just pumped up DeJounte's value. And funny enough, DeJounte's like a better player than he was now. The team just isn't any better. Like it's like he's gotten better across the board, but it hasn't really improved. But on that trade, when that trade did happen, I remember being like, yeah, well, they didn't give up much because they're still going to be decent. I didn't think they were going to go into the shitter this quickly with the Hawks scenario. And that's a lot of the times what you're betting on when you're making these trades is, will this team just go completely into the shitter? And the Spurs made a good move there by seeing the future with that. But yeah, no, just in general on this front with kind of just wrapping up the Paul George part and all that, I think if I had to guess my likely scenario, I still am like, if the Knicks' long-term goal is to get a top 10 player, how does trading for Paul George make any sense? Because you're going to have to financially commit to him in a year. And are you just going to give up Julius Randle now and risk losing Paul George for nothing in a year? Like if he hits free agency and then wants to go somewhere else or gets another, or are you going to lock in a 3-year max contract for Paul George a year from now and not be able to trade him?
So is what's going to happen here the funniest scenario?
What's that?
The OG Anunoby sign and trade for the opting in Paul George?
I don't think so.
No, I don't even think that's legal under the.
I don't know if it is.
They're both over the second apron. So
yeah, I was going to say, I think OG. Yeah. I don't think they can acquire a sign and trade player.
Yeah,
because they'll be over the second apron. But what I was going to say was, it sounds like Isaiah Hartenstein and OG are almost certainly going back to the Knicks because they just don't have. Like the Sixers are interested, but like it sounds like OG is just going to go back for like $35 million a year to play for the Knicks, and they're fine overpaying OG because they have Brunson and Randall on scam contracts right now. And even honestly, even Dante DiVincenzo only makes $10 million a year. Like they locked in a bunch of scam contracts basically. Yeah. But long story short on this is like, I just kind of look at the Knicks scenario and go, if your plan is to eventually get one of these top players, trading for Paul George makes no sense. To me, the Warriors and the Rockets are the two teams of those teams that we mentioned, unless we want to go full conspiracy Bill.
Let's go.
And say, he might have already said this actually, but we might have said it. He might have said it. House challenge trade. Who says no? Jimmy Butler for Paul George. We've discussed this before.
We've discussed this a little bit. I don't know, like Jimmy
would be all about that, I think.
He would love, because we did talk about it, because we talked about Jimmy in LA and how like that's just like he would love that.
So many more commercials, dude. We need more Jimmy Butler commercials, if anything.
It was, I gotta say, it really did make my heart warm when the Celtics were in the middle of winning a championship and Jimmy Butler's just like cashing checks. I don't know, playing laser tag with I don't know, a Twitch streamer ninja or something like that. Like
he was
with Dr. Disrespect. Josh Giddey was with Dr. Disrespect.
He was at a celebrity poker match the other night.
Yes, yeah, dude, and he fucking hated those guys. That was awesome. That was like, I
You know
want
how
more things
insufferable
like
you have
that.
to be for Jimmy to hate you?
Yeah, yeah, that he hated that Ryan Garcia guy so much. That was awesome.
He
I
hated
love
him
that.
because he was like, "I'm the theater kid. What? Why are you getting more attention than me?"
Yeah, no, Jimmy doesn't like that. Jimmy would not like being in a streamer scenario. Like Jimmy might murder Kai Cenat if like he ever had to like share a streaming with him. The attention levels are too
Yeah.
out of control. I'm trying to remember what Bill said. I'm scrolling through the episode script from today. He said another thing that almost made me crash my car, but I was driving, so I like literally couldn't tweet it. Like but he said that he wouldn't trade the number 1 overall pick for a player. And I thought he was joking, but he apparently was being serious. I'm gonna find that while
Okay.
we keep
I was
talking.
gonna say, keep in mind, a year ago, Bill Simmons said that he wouldn't trade Josh Giddey for Joel Embiid, and Josh Giddey just got traded for Alex Caruso, who, like, look, I still think OKC won that trade, but they got Alex Caruso and not Joel Embiid, who they said he would not trade him for that. It was Trey Murphy from the Pelicans.
Oh,
or was it Patrick Williams?
No, it wasn't. That's what it was. It was fucking Patrick Williams.
Yeah.
They said I wouldn't trade the number 1 draft pick because I agree on the Trey Murphy thing. I don't think I would.
I would trade Trey.
I don't think I would trade Murphy for the first overall pick in the draft. But Patrick Williams is fucking insane.
Yeah,
I wouldn't trade the 7th pick in this draft for Patrick Williams because you have to pay him immediately. Like,
yeah, because he's a free agent. Also, Mitchell Robinson plays like 50 games a year.
Yeah, no, they were.
So Mitchell Robinson being included there is because at least with Patrick Williams, you could be like, well, he's 22, and you just assume that he's going to get better. And with the history of Bulls with young players, like, you could maybe insert a certain world, and also the fact that everyone wants a wing, even if I think that Patrick Williams is like just wing size, doesn't do all of the things that I want a wing to do.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, Mitchell Robinson's the most insane of that group. Like, Mitchell Robinson gets hurt every single year. And at this point, he's like a good starter, or a good low end starter, a very good backup.
Yeah,
like, you're not building your team around Mitchell Robinson.
But also, here's what I'll say: I know Mitchell Robinson can be a rotation player on a good team. Like, I've watched it.
Okay,
I'm not sure Patrick Williams is a good rotation player on a good team. Like, in theory, he is, but I have not seen it. You know, like, it's an insane thing to say. Yeah. So
I'd rather take the bet on Patrick Williams just because I know that Patrick Williams hasn't had the cleanest bill of health, but the availability and the slight chance that he might be a starting level wing sells it for me. It's just like, I can get bigs. I just feel like there's always an abundance of good playable bigs, and there is an abundance of good playable wings. And like, there's a slight chance Patrick Williams could get to that point.
Yeah, House wanting to trade number 2 overall for Giddey. That would be awesome.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, Bill said that's what House told him was his quote unquote dream scenario for the draft. Was trading.
Oh my god, dude.
Trade.
I'm just taking it way too far.
Kevin, listen back. He said he would he said the opposite. He said he wouldn't trade the pick. Like, he wouldn't if he had Patrick Williams, he wouldn't trade for the pick. I'm telling you.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was nuts.
So, yeah, if I have to rank these scenarios for Paul George, 1 that seems most realistic to me is Warriors, 2 is Rockets, 3 is Knicks. I just don't see a scenario in which the Knicks can keep their plan if they get Paul George. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they think that Paul George, Jalen Brunson, and then they use the Nova guys to trade for whoever the superstar that becomes available, plus all their picks. But I just don't see a scenario where that works. But let's move on to the next piece of slop we have, which is that so did you see the report that the Bulls are interested in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope?
I mean, why not? Like,
I mean,
it's a fine shot. Like,
sure.
I kind of like that, to be honest. Like,
sure, but like,
play him for a year and then trade him for 2 first-round picks. That's what you should be. More bad teams should do some stuff like that. Get like a guy is going to be in demand. KCP has been on 2 different championship level teams.
Yeah.
You will be able to trade him, like even if the contract is kind of bad.
The only issue with this is that what if they're accidentally too good? Because they have a top 8 protected pick that the Spurs own next year. What if they do the thing where they just refuse to go into the tank and then they accidentally just like shoot way above their head and like KCP and Kobe White are awesome and they are just this is a stretch, keep in mind. Like I don't think there's a world really where they have to worry about being too good now that they've traded Alex Caruso for Josh Giddey.
Also, if you are too good, there's still a chance you jump up like Atlanta and like Houston just did. You know what I'm saying? And then you're in your protected range if you jump up. So, like you could finish the season in like the 9th or the 10th spot and jump up in the lottery to the 1, 2, 3, or 4 spot.
Yeah, but if you have a protected pick, why would you even risk that?
I mean, you shouldn't. But I'm saying like it's not. It's even if there's going to be a lot of good teams next year. We've talked about this a billion times ad nauseam. Like too many teams are trying to win. Right. They're not going to be good enough.
I'm not saying you have to go fully into the tank, but like there is a chance you get KCP. You have like Levine, KCP, Kobe White. I mean, you're getting to the point where you just have way too many guys at the 1 and the 2. But and I mean, you'll probably play KCP and Levine at the 3 just to make that work.
You have Giddey who needs the ball at the 3 position too, by the way.
Yeah, and I'm also the more I think about this, the more I'm like, even if they had all these guys, there's no way that the Bulls are not a bottom 10 team next year. But the point is that like the way that they sold this trade was that they were like, look, we're finally gonna rebuild. And then they turned around and they were like, well, what if we just signed Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to $25 million a year? That's what it's going to take to get him to leave Denver. Which, by the way, Zach Lowe said on his podcast today that everyone thinks that KCP's gone.
That's nuts. That's kind of a bag fumble by fucking Calvin Booth. Like, what? I mean, I know it's probably not Calvin Booth's fault. It's probably more likely Stan Kroenke's fault. And that poor guy, he just doesn't have very much money. So how can you blame him? God, he's like low-key one of the big losers. Like, because he has money. Like, he's like not broke. He's just not doing it.
He's
like,
got cable money, right?
Yeah, he's a freak. Yeah.
And so if KCP leaves the Nuggets, we've talked about this, but like, there's really no way for them to replace him. Like, they'll start Christian Brown next year or Peyton Watson, one of those two. And it's just like, Brown can't bring the same level of he's not close to the same level of player as KCP right now. He's not going to bring you that two-way play that he could. Watson, I think, might be able to in like 2 or 3 years, but he's like 21. Like, you're running out of ways to replace the production. And the difference between last year and this year is that when they lost Bruce Brown, they couldn't pay Bruce Brown. In the CBA, it literally said they could only offer him a certain amount of money because of the contract he was on. This is a different scenario. They could technically max KCP.
They have full bird rights for him. Yeah, they have
full bird rights.
Yeah,
this would just be trying to avoid the second apron / cheap ownership.
Yeah,
if they lose him for nothing in this scenario, which it sounds like the teams that are interested in him are the Bulls, the Spurs, the Magic, and the Sixers. If I had to make a prediction right now,
Magic's interesting. Interesting.
My prediction here is that one of the Magic or the Sixers, if the Sixers strike out on all their plans, so Jimmy Butler stays, Paul George goes to another team, Brandon Ingram, who the Rockets are also interested in Brandon Ingram, but I think that the Brandon Ingram market is basically right now it's like the Sixers and then maybe the Cavs if they do the Darius Garland thing. If Brandon Ingram goes to a different team or doesn't get traded, my prediction is that one of the Magic or the Sixers overpay KCP, pay him like $24 million a year for like 3 years. And maybe there's a team option on the last year, but like they give him a big bag.
How do you just not trade Michael Porter Jr.? Like, that's such a better idea than letting KCP walk. Like,
who would want him though? We've talked about this, like the Pistons.
Yeah.
But like, okay, so I think the scenario that we came up with before was like, would you rather have? I think it was like beef stew, because they don't have many. The problem with trading with the Pistons is that they have one player.
Yeah.
And they're not trading Cade. So like anytime we do a trade, it's like, all right, you get this guy who isn't good and this guy who isn't good. And like this guy who might be good, but he's like 22. It's just impossible to make a trade work.
I'd take fucking Asar Thompson. Like,
I don't think they would trade Asar for Michael Porter Jr. I mean, maybe they would just because, but like, didn't they just hire Fred Vincent because they want to try to fix their guy shooting issues? Yeah. Like, I guess that's the plan.
I mean, I don't know. I'm hearing rumors, like, everyone seems to think they're taking Buzelis at 5, which is like the most fucking Troy Weaver shit I've ever heard. His ghost is still in the building. Like,
well, Troy Weaver's working for the Washington Wizards.
The Wizards, yeah, he is.
Your favorite front office in the NBA.
I know.
So you might not be beating it. No, I said this is perfect. When the news broke, I said this is actually perfect because Sam has his Quinn Snyder fall guy now. So if the Wizards suck, he could just say, "Well, they hired Troy Weaver."
Yeah, that's what the plan. Everything was going according to plan.
Then they just deviated from it. Well, they hired him. They didn't. They shouldn't have hired him. But
I genuinely don't understand why Buzelis is being mocked. Like, what is their thing? They don't have shooting. He can't shoot. Again, literally identical shooting percentage to fucking Ron Holland. Like,
who would you draft there at 5? Let's just say that the board breaks this way. Okay, ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Let's say the 4 guys that are off the board already are Klingon, Reed, Sar, and let's say with the other one, it's Richiche. Let's say those 4 are the 4 that go early. Who would you take with the 5th pick? Because a lot of the guys in that range, I'm not saying I don't like Buzelis. Like, I'm not like a Buzelis guy by any means. But if you're the Pistons, who are you trading for that doesn't have shooting, or drafting that doesn't have shooting questions?
You could take Rob Dillingham, and you could just trade some of the other guys. I would rather have Rob Dillingham than Modest Buzelis. Modest Buzelis causes so many other issues. It's not what you want. It's worse. Asar Thompson. Like, Asar Thompson is a better shooter right now than Modest Buzelis is.
I don't know. That's not the case. Asar shot 16% from NBA range this year. That's Buzelis. Look, I know Buzelis is not a good shooter. He shot like 25%, 26% from 3 in the G League Ignite.
The fucking G League Ignite in G League competition. Like, at least Asar was playing NBA teams, and it's like,
but they were wide open threes.
Were they wide open? Were they? Yes. I don't know.
No, I'm saying that Asar definitely was shooting. They're both shooting from NBA range. Mm-hmm. And Asar was 100% shooting open threes because teams wanted him to shoot open threes. I would rather take Cody Williams than Buzelis. Like, that. I think Cody Williams is the other guy that they're considering at that pick. Yeah. I think both of those picks, when you consider where Detroit is at, the way that the board breaking out for them with those 4 going in the top 4 is almost the worst case scenario for the Pistons.
Absolutely.
It's literally a redo of the 2022 draft where all of the guys that they wanted to get go in the top 4 picks, and then they're left taking Ivy, who we all liked as a prospect, but was just not what they needed. What they've been searching for is like, I think, like a wing-sized guy who can shoot. And the only guys that are on the board there are Cody Williams, who I guess can kind of shoot, but like doesn't have a high volume of shooting ability. And then Dalton Knecht, who's like 24.
Yeah. I don't know. Honestly, even Dalton Knecht would be, I think, a better pick than Buzelis. Because, like, at least Dalton Knecht makes your team make sense. Their team needs to make sense. Like, you can't be maxing Cade Cunningham off another fucking 42% 3-point. By the way, very funny Cade Cope from Simmons and Solo today, where they were all of a sudden Monty Williams is like the entire problem with the Detroit Pistons. And Monty wasn't good, but like
very,
come the fuck on.
Very bad. Yeah.
Come the fuck on.
Like, the team is.
It's bad. Like the team is bad.
Just look at the team. Well, this is the thing. It's like I don't even know if they need to make sense. I think they just need NBA talent. That's the problem with this team. Now, keep in mind, I don't think it means you should always just select best player available. I think at a certain point that runs out of, because if none of the guys fit together, then the team's going to be shit no matter what. But I do think that the difference is that it's like every player on the Pistons right now has a massive flaw in their game. And most of the guys that they play just aren't NBA level rotation players. They need to move into figuring out how to get NBA level rotation players. And I mean, like I said, the board breaking the way that it would for them there, because like at least with Klingon, you would have a defensive anchor if the board breaks that way. At least with Reed, you would have elite shooting in the back.
Reed's the best case scenario. That's the best case scenario for them.
Yeah. Elite, like all this stuff, but the way that the board breaking out that way basically comes down to the fact that they're probably not going to be able to pick one of these guys that is a high caliber prospect and also fits with the team. You kind of have to go one of the other way. And did you see the Buzelis on Kenny Beecham's podcast quote where he was like, if I shot well this year, I would be the number 1 pick in the draft?
No shit. No fucking shit. Obviously. If I were LeBron James, I'd be the number 1 fucking pick in this draft. The fuck? This Buzelis thing keeps making me insane. Like, I can't. It feels like a fucking prank on me. It's like, what? Why? Like,
you're in the Truman Show.
I really am in the Truman Show. Like, it seems like a fucking insane thing to me. Like, and this is me guaranteeing that he will be good, but like, by being this out on him, but it like boggles my mind that A, he's bad, and then B, the one team in the NBA who truly desperately needs shooting more than any other team in the NBA is going to take this fucking guy who shot 25% in the fucking G League with 2 other NBA prospects on his fucking team. That doesn't happen in the G League. He's God, I don't know what the fuck is happening. Why? Why is he going to go 5th in this draft? It doesn't make sense to me.
So he said in that interview that he was like, I make the shots in practice. And I felt like being like, I also felt like being like, so does Ben Simmons. like a lot of NBA players can make shots in practice, but it's a little bit different when you're actually playing in the game. I'll say this about Buzelis. I'm about as far out on Buzelis as you can be. I don't think he has anything. I think the only thing that he has is that he's tall and that he's athletic, and that's really it. And I even think some of his athleticism stuff is a little bit overblown. My major thing is that I think that we're going to get to the point in this draft where teams just start taking swings on guys because of the fact that they have these theoretical skills like we're talking about right now. Like, I mean, like Richeche might still be the number 1 pick. Like, the guy on fucking Lowe's podcast, Gavoni, today said Richeche, he's like pretty certain he's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. And I'm like,
Gavoni is the devil works hard. Gavoni works harder.
For some reason, he's like sold on the fact that Richeche, despite all these other reports, and like he's kind of held strong on that. Like he has not broken off and been like, he thinks that all the Klingon stuff is just because teams want Klingon and Atlanta's trying to be like, hey, we might draft Klingon. You should trade up so that we don't draft Klingon. That kind of has been his whole thing.
That kind of makes sense, to be honest.
Yeah.
But nobody else is fucking drafting Richeche in the top 4. If you trade back to 3 with Houston, you still get Richeche.
Probably. Or if you trade back to 4 with the Spurs and the Spurs trade up, like you'd probably get Richeche at 4 if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like Sarr doesn't want to work out for Atlanta. And if Sarr doesn't want to work out for Atlanta, they still could take him. But what I'm trying to get at here is like everyone that's in the top of this draft, except for, I'm fairly certain the floor isn't going to fall out on Klingon or Reed. I'm like fairly certain. Yeah. But all of these guys have like a risk profile to them. And that's why you're going to see guys like Cody Williams and Buzelis going higher than they would in a regular draft. Because if you squint hard enough, you can see things in their game that you feel like might be a thing that is hard to acquire. Whether it's like Buzelis with the rim protection, help defense stuff at the 4, whether it's Cody Williams with like the theoretical scoring upside, all of that shit. I mean, even like I saw Kevin O'Connor's thing about Stephen Castle having superstar upside. In what world? Like, in what world did you watch that guy play at Connecticut and you said this guy could be a superstar in the NBA? Like this draft is just driving everyone a little bit insane, I think, is the takeaway. And because and including myself, like I have something that I want to get to here that probably will make me sound like an insane person. But I just think that the way that everyone's approaching this draft is like, once you get past those few guys that you're pretty confident are going to be like legit NBA players, it kind of is a free for all, and teams are just going to start taking swings on guys that they might not in a regular draft.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think guys like Castle just like don't have upside, but I'm also pretty sure Castle's going to be like an NBA player for like a decently long amount of time.
Sure.
Like plus rebounding guards like that, even if they can't shoot, they usually kind of hang around and carve out a rotation spot or something like that. So like, there's a few of these guys, but I don't know. It seems like this draft. Everyone's kind of in their head about how quote unquote like the bad the draft is. But it's kind of funny because I think everyone has different takeaways on like different teams and nobody knows what to do with that. It'll either make for an insane draft night or one of the most boring draft nights we've ever had.
I think it's going to be nuts. I think it's going to be like, we might get the 2022, 2013 where it's a surprise number 1 overall pick. I think it's also possible that we're going to get like a ton of trades all over the board. And I think that the value that teams are giving up to trade up, because right now I have written down, everyone wants to trade up or trade down. Like, it doesn't seem like anyone's really set where they're at right now. Like there's so many different variables that could happen on this draft night. But before we get into some of my more insane things on the draft, I do just want to hit on these last few slot points I had here.
Okay.
We've heard a ton of rumors about different teams, different players, and whatever. But the one that seems the most likely of all these free agent guys, it seems like Klay Thompson's going to be on the Magic.
Yeah.
Like, he really wants to go there, I've heard. All the reports are like tied to Klay and the Magic with like I think he's just over Golden State. I think Golden State doesn't want to pay him. He's fine leaving. And I think that I actually kind of like Klay and Golden for the Magic. Like, I kind of like a team that needs spacing and like doesn't sacrifice. I know that Klay's defense isn't as good as it used to be. And he doesn't play big, but like a team that wants to play big, he'll be at the 2 for them. Klay at the 2, Paolo at the 3 or the 4, and then Franz at the other position on the wing. Suggs starting, and then like Carter at the 5. Like, I kind of like that team if Klay's willing to scale back some of his responsibilities and is more realistic with who he is at this point in his career. That's the real question.
That's the caveat. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. You know, is Klay okay with like being like a mentor to like these younger guys? You know, like, and because, you know, there's no other vets really in that locker room. You know, it's Klay and like what the next oldest
Jonathan
guy
Isaac.
That's what I was just gonna say. Is Jonathan Isaac?
Joe Ingles was there last year, but I don't know if he's going to be here this upcoming year.
So you've got Klay talking about how fun it is to like have a boat, and then you have Jonathan Isaac being like, well, you know who else built a boat? A fellow named by the name of Noah, and 2 of every person was put on the boat. So.
Here's why the Rapture's happening soon, and we're gonna be joining the Celtics on their plane ride soon that Joe Mazzulla has planned for them.
We're going to Joe's going to Italy. He misspoke.
Oh, okay, gotcha. He's going to the Vatican. There you go.
He's going to the Vatican.
Perfect.
I've talked with him since then. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Well, luckily there hasn't been anything offensive or
that they've done ever
upsetting things. Well, even recently, it's not like the Pope has said any.
Ooh.
Hold on, I'm getting word.
Well, what we have learned in the NBA this year is that behavior is okay. Apparently,
old school Rondo flashback.
I was talking about another player, but anyway.
Okay, yeah. No, I remember Rondo. I just remember Rondo doing it and to Bill Kennedy, which was not good. He probably should have gotten in more trouble than he did for that. But
Klay on the Magic.
Klay on the Magic. What a time. I think it's gonna be a good fit. I don't know. Klay might be done as like a 42% shooter though. You know, I think he's probably more of a 37, 38. I think he was like 36 last year or something like that.
I was gonna say he definitely. The thing with Klay is that like the bad games are disasters, but still, okay, so he had 38.7,
Okay.
41.2, 38.5, and then he didn't play for the previous 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Before, but still, high 30s on the thing about Klay is that it's not just like putting like Malik Beasley on a team where it's like Malik Beasley will stand in, or Luke Kennard, they will stand in a corner for most of the game and they will hit wide open shots. That's what they will do. They guarantee you that. Klay Thompson, it's a little bit different. Like Klay Thompson is going to be running off screens. He has the ability to shoot like he is one of the few players in the NBA that is a legit movement shooter. And you have to account for that even if he's not quite at the level that he was once at. And that opens up a lot for the Magic, I think.
Something else that's really interesting about Klay is he's become way more of a volume shooter since he came back. Mm-hmm. Like in his 30s, Klay, like he was at 10 or 11 a game most of his career.
Yeah.
And then after the injury and he came back, every year since he's come back, he's been 14.5 plus. So he's gone up like 4 attempts a game, or per 100 possessions. I mean,
I was like, holy shit, every game.
No.
I was like,
No. The per 100 possessions, like rate wise, he's like way higher on that. And the Magic, even if he's like his shooting percentages dip, not playing next to Curry, which I think is kind of likely to be honest, he'll probably be, he might be more like 36, 37. Just a guy getting up 10 threes a game for that Magic team is going to really help their spacing quite a bit. So
no, I agree. And like the thing is, like we have been saying time and time again with the Magic that what we want them to do is go out and acquire a guard. But I think that these playoffs prove that like their half court offense still look like shit in the playoffs. But I think it proved that like Paolo's that guy. And if Paolo is that guy, maybe you build your team a little bit differently than whatever. Like Monk was a guy that they were attached to, but Monk just went back to the Kings, which great contract for the Kings. Like, I mean, they're paying Monk like $18 million a year. And he's been awesome for them, and to get him back and not lose him is huge for them. But for the Magic, like the guys that they've been connected to are like Anthony Simons, who like very good offensive player, but he's going to compromise your defense crazily. Like he's a very, very bad defender. And like Colin Sexton, another guy that's like good, talented guard that like would help, but the defense is always going to be an issue for a guy that's just his size in the playoffs. Whereas with Klay, yes, he will be the weakest link by far on defense, and teams will attack him for sure. But he still is 6'6", 6'7". Like he is a wing size guy, and I think that even though his defense is not even close to where it was when he was at his prime, I think you'll be able to live with that a little bit easier if you're playing these jumbo size lineups where Jalen Suggs, who's like an elite defender, is your smallest guy in a lot of these lineups. And I think that Klay just gives them an element of something that they've been missing in like 2 years. Paolo and Franz both grow as creators potentially here. And then if this doesn't work, you can always revisit it maybe a year or two from now and either trade Klay expiring, or you can bring in a guard that gives your offense a little bit more like structure and makes shit make more sense. But I think that the fact that like these guys both are wing size guys that have guard skills, like we just saw the Celtics win a championship doing this. Now their team build was like they nailed it perfectly, but I think that we know every year when you get to the playoffs, wing play is incredibly important. And just to add another spacer to the court who's like a wing size guy, I like the fit a lot. I know a lot of people that are Magic fans and a lot of people in general don't like this, but I actually think it makes a ton of sense for them.
I understand why, because if you have this young core, you want everyone to be young and everyone to fit that. And Klay's obviously much older than the rest of this Magic team.
Yeah.
And I think that's the idea, is that like you're going to give him this contract. It'll probably be a 4-year contract, and it's going to run until he's 37. It'll probably be pretty expensive. I get that. But you're also in Orlando. You've got a team. This will definitely help make your team better. Yeah. And the Magic were like low-key pretty good. Something we learned in this playoffs, if you can defend, you can fucking have playoff success. And I think like the Magic just need a little bit more punch. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Apollo and Franz taking some step forwards and Klay giving them a little bit more space might be able to get them there. Like the Magic could be risers. They could take that. I know they were probably a little out ahead of their skis, being the 5 seed was what they ended up being. Like
they were like the 4 or the 5 seed. Yeah.
Yeah. The 4 or 5. Yeah. They were the 5 seed because it was Cleveland. So it was 5.
Yeah.
So the 5 seed, that's probably higher than they probably should have been this season. Like they probably should have been like 6 or 7. They did get a little lucky down the break, but I think they could like genuinely make the leap into like top 4 contention this year. Like if with Klay and like a little bit more development by their young guys, and so I'm interested to see that. I think it's fine. I think it's a totally fine contract, and it solves everybody's problems because I don't think Golden State really wants Klay back, and it's kind of an awkward thing. So.
Yep, and Monk going back to the Kings, like that's solved the Kings' problems. Like the Kings were like, we have no way to replace this guy. We can only pay him $18 million a year. Well, now they've solved a little bit of that, and they can make other moves based on that with the Herter and Barnes and potentially their pick. Did you see the report that the Bulls turned down the 13th pick in the draft for Caruso? That the Kings thought that they were going to have a deal done for Caruso, and they turned down the 13th pick in order to pivot to Giddey. Which a lot of people would say, like, if Giddey were in this draft, he'd probably be a top 10 pick. And I'm like,
sure.
Okay, but knowing what we know about Giddey now, not like literally on the court. I'm saying on the court, like we know that he's not athletic enough to be a lead creator. We know that his stats. You want to talk about people pointed this out. Bill loves to obsess over these bad these fucking good stats, bad team guys. That is the definition of Josh Giddey.
Yes. No, shout out to Richard Normal, who like literally said this to me on Twitter. Like it was like that is like, how do you do this? Because Giddey is going to get his stats next year. Giddey will probably be like a 21-7-7 guy next year, and everyone's going to be like, well, you guys all said the trade was shitty. Check it out of what Josh Giddey is doing for this 26 and 36 or 56 team. Like, in your fucking face. Like, he's awesome. Like, and he will get stats next year. It's going to suck. They're going to be bad. It's going to make the team worse. He's never going to be on a winning team, ever. Like, unless he is a 6-man, which he turned down doing for Oklahoma City. So,
and I just want to point out here, like, certainly can't shoot off the dribble. Is not a good finisher, is not a good defender, does not get to the line. There's nothing in his game that screams lead creator. So this idea for me here is the fact that like Giddey's getting paid soon. So like if he's good next year, that might be the worst thing that could happen for Chicago. Because they're going to lock in an over-the-market deal for a guy that is really not that guy. And this is not revisionist history from us. Like, we've never been in on, like, the Giddey has star potential shit. Like, none of it has ever made any sense when you think about, like, what you need to be a lead creator in the NBA nowadays. And if he's not a lead creator, then what is he? Well, we found out this past year with Oklahoma City. He's a guy that just kind of hurts the team, to be completely honest. So I'm
laughing at Jonathan. I saw Jonathan ask if you heard Verno talk about Giddey, and then he put the clip in there, which I'd listened to before. It's pretty awesome. I encourage everyone to take Jonathan's tweet and listen to that a little bit later.
I did listen to it. Yeah. I mean, it's not true though.
It's also not true, but it's a classic Verno. It's one of those things where I like Vernon. So I'm like, damn, he spilled, but he didn't.
Well, also I do just want to point out. So if you missed the clip, Verno basically says what we thought Bill was going to say was, if you didn't know everything that happened with him this year, and this trade happened a year ago, you would have loved it. Like, you would have loved, oh man, we get whatever. Vernon basically makes the same argument, which he's making the argument to Kevin O'Connor, which, to be fair, is true for Kevin O'Connor. Yes. Kevin O'Connor at this time last year said he would take him number 1 overall in a 2021 redraft. When we did our 2021 redraft, I think we got to like pick like 8 and drafted Giddey there. I think it was literally like pick 8 in a 2021 redraft. And that was before all of this shit happened.
We were always lower on Giddey
relative to consensus.
Yeah, well, do you remember? I think Bill had Giddey higher than Shea or something like that 2 years ago.
Like, he didn't have him higher than Shea. You know what? He might have.
That's what I'm saying. I think it was
2022 one, because I remember you freaked out that he had Shea at like 38 or 40 on his trade value list.
Yeah.
And we
That
freaked
was
out
horrible.
because Giddey and LaMelo were in the same tier
That's what it
on
was.
that same
Okay.
trade list from 2 years ago when we were
That's what
like,
it
this is like, we're like, Giddey shouldn't even be on this list.
Yeah. Well, everyone always says like Giddey's like he's like such an insane passer, and I've never. He's a fine passer. I've never thought he's like but like people talk about him like he's fucking Jokic.
God,
and it's
passing
like,
is the most overrated skill in the NBA, dude. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Like, if you can't score, then what is your passing worth?
Yeah.
Teams will just guard, like, teams will
Just
just guard
watch
you
you do
one-on-one.
it.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it really isn't that valuable if it's just an individual skill, like he can make a pass. And yeah, someone brings up in the comments, Bill had Giddey higher than LeBron. Remember he had him one spot ahead of LeBron James?
Right.
And we were like, he has him ahead of LeBron James. It's always been a joke, but now that we know what we know even more now, it's like it's a joke of a fucking trade, and it's a joke of a fucking situation.
It's insane. I don't know. The Giddey trade, people are trying to do the contrarian shit. This will not be a contrarian one from Sammy Shea. That shit fucking sucks, and it's going to continue to suck. Chicago's not going to be good.
Yeah.
God, I'm gonna be so pissed when Chicago gives him a fucking $40 million extension per year. He's getting $160 million this offseason. Get ready.
God, buckle up.
Buckle up.
Our Kardasovas is his swan song.
One last thing. One last ride. It's the Patrick Starr doing the LeBron Heat under $170 million.
Another shitty contract to a white guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jesus Christ. And like I said, the 13th pick in this draft, not great, but like I think there's potential if you hit the pick. I wanted to talk a little bit about this. So we talked all about all this draft shit. So if you look back at these like historically bad drafts, I think of the two ones that we've talked about before, like 2000 is in its own category of bad.
Yeah, that one was incredibly bad. Yeah,
it's the worst draft of all time by like a fucking mile.
Yeah,
there are two players in the whole thing that made all-star teams, I think, and I think that one of them was Kenyon Martin, the number 1 overall pick, who made a single all-star team, and then the second one, if I remember correctly, was Michael Redd, who made a single all-star team in the second, and he was drafted in the second round. So outside of that, we have drafts that at the time people thought they were bad drafts. 2019, 2015, 2013, 2011, 2014. No, people like 2014. 14 had Wiggins, Parker, Embiid. No, that 14 is a good draft.
I'm forgetting that. Yeah.
You're right. Aaron Gordon,
I was
Marcus
thinking
Smart.
Of 2013. Yeah.
The top 6 in that draft were seen as like pretty surefire NBA players.
Well, because that was the thing, was Marcus Smart went back to school and everyone was like, "What the fuck?" Because he was projected to be the number 1 pick in
2013. Yeah. And so if you look at 2011, 2013, 2015, 2011 is probably my favorite example of this. If you look at drafts, which is that at the time the only guy that everyone was certain was going to be a star was Kyrie. Everyone was like, Kyrie's that guy. And then it got kind of messy after that. And if you look back, here's picks 2 through 8 in that draft. Okay, ready? Okay. Derek Williams from Arizona.
I loved him that draft.
A lot of people did.
Wrong. I was really wrong about that one.
But if you go back and you listen, people were very skeptical on this draft in general. You had Enes Kanter with the 3rd pick, which obviously he had an okay career, but I mean, not 3rd overall pick. Like
I hated that pick. Because he redshirted that whole year.
What happened was he wanted to play, but he had already played for a pro team in Turkey, I think, where he's from. And they basically made it so that he couldn't play at Kentucky. Like he wanted to go play at Kentucky, and his eligibility was stripped. So it was it was similar to kind of the James Wiseman thing.
Yes.
Where Wiseman got his eligibility stripped. He couldn't play. He ends up being a bust because, we have this small sample of games to work off. And, 4th pick, Tristan Thompson. 5th pick, Jonas Valanciunas. 6th pick, Jan Vesely. 7th pick, Bismack Biyombo. 8th pick, Brandon Knight. Then you get to some more better picks as you move on here. You get Kemba Walker with the next pick. Jimmer Fredette with the 10th pick. By the way, just off the top of your head, really quick here. How tall do you think Jimmer Fredette is?
6'3".
I thought for some reason in my brain he was like Doug McDermott size. I thought he was like 6'6", 6'7".
Oh no,
he's 6'2".
Oh shit! Really? Wow.
He was really
even shorter
small.
than I remember him being kind of small. You've got to kind of remember this was like kind of post Steph's success. You know, like he kind of ate off.
Well, Steph didn't really pop, but he was like second in Rookie of the Year before he hurt his ankle. And also, we had all of the hype from that from a few years ago. He was clearly one of the best players from his draft.
By the way, while I'm thinking of it, I thought of a take. I want to get it off. I wanted to get it on record. Are we sure that Zach Edey is not the next Steph Curry?
Why?
Everyone's overthinking it. Dynamic college player. Incredible. Everyone had naysaying things to think about Steph Curry. Oh, he's too short.
That was
not going to work in the NBA. We've never seen a guy like this succeed. Insane outlier shooting, insane outlier size and skill.
That's the pitch. That's why we both have him top 5.
Yes, I'm just saying. Like, I'm like becoming more and more of an Edey truther, which I like started as like kind of a bit, but I'm like I'm high on my own supply a little bit here. And I
started as a contrarian too, and I was like, are we sure he isn't really good?
I'm starting to kind of think that Zach Edey like might be like the steal of this draft. Like I'm starting to think he might be the guy in plain sight who's like should be a number 1 overall pick. And I think like guys like Hashim Thabit like ruined it for him. And he's so much more talented.
Ennis Cantor,
Jahlil
Okafor. Once again, what do all these guys have in common? They're all like 6'10", 6'11", 7 foot sometimes.
Yeah.
Most of these guys are not 7'4".
No.
Like, actually,
or skilled.
That's
Edey is a player. Like Wiseman didn't really know how to play basketball. He was just like an athletic big guy. Yes. Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought this up because I wanted to do this exercise where we pulled up Tankathon, which is just like an aggregate of most of the mock drafts in general. And we tried to look at, because as I was going further in this draft, like you start to get more picks that you're like, okay, Klay Thompson's the 11th pick, Kawhi Leonard's the 15th pick, Nikola Vucevic is the 16th pick, Jimmy Butler's the 30th pick. So historically, in these bad drafts, 2011, 2013, right?
Yeah.
These drafts, the best players generally get picked from like pick 10 to like pick 30 or 35. Like if we talk about like 2013 had 2015 had Devin Booker was drafted just outside of the top 10. 2013 had Giannis and Rudy got selected in that range. So let's pull up Tankathon and we'll redo this after the draft because I want to see how the board actually does break out. Okay. But I want to pull up Tankathon right now and say, let's put our money on guys who we think that will get selected. We could be generous here and say, let's say outside of the top 7, do you want to say? Top 8?
Okay.
And say which of these guys that are projected to go from like 8 to 30 that we think could be the best player in this draft or one of the 3 best players in this draft.
Okay. I mean, the obvious one is Ron Holland. Just for starters.
Holland's projected to go 11 to the Bulls right now.
Yeah. And then I think after that, Cody Williams is probably another big feast or famine guy. In terms of that, but these aren't that interesting. I think we want to go a little lower, right? Like we want to see some of these other guys. So Edey, we just talked about Edey. Edey would definitely be my pick.
Of the guys, if we're going 10 to 30, Edey's number 1 for me. Yeah.
Yes, I would agree. I think Edey is probably my pick there, just because there's something. We didn't get to this. I really wanted to unfurl this when we had our pod with Maxwell and Chuck, but I have Carlton Carrington 6th on my board.
You have Bud 6. I have him 8, I think.
Yes. So I also strongly believe in Bub. So I would probably pick him 2nd, honestly, after this guy. So
you'll go Edey. Of all the guys in this range, you'll go Edey 1.
Yeah.
Or are you going to go Holland or Cody?
I'll go Edey 1.
Okay.
And then I will go I would go Bub, and then I would go Ron, and then I would go Cody.
Okay.
In that range. So there's guys like Jalen Tyson and De Silva, those type of guys. Those guys are the Jaime Jaquez's, where like they're probably going to be strong out of the gate. They're going to be good players. They're going to contribute to things. I don't think those guys have much of a chance to like pop as like all stars necessarily. It kind of has to be the Desmond Bane path for a guy like that. Like
Tyson, I was going to say,
yeah.
Jalen Williams and Desmond Bane are my examples for if Jalen Tyson pops. I think that he could fall into that. The difference between Jalen Tyson and those two guys that I just laid out, that Chuck kind of put me onto this like path of the late developing wings. The only thing is that we knew Desmond Bane was an elite shooter, and we knew Jalen Williams was a really good athlete. Jalen Tyson is more like jack of all trades, master of none type prospect. So he probably still is a role player. I think he has a sliver of a chance of all the guys that are listed here.
Yeah.
To be one of like the top 3 or 4 players in this draft. I'm looking at this board right now and I'm trying to predict.
I have one more.
Okay. Who's your other one?
I also think Khalil Ware has a pretty significant upside as a like shooting big. And I think he like not a ton of like all NBA upside, but I think he could have like all-star upside if everything hits right in like 1 or 2 like weak years. Like
I mean, look, he's a really good athlete. He was fairly productive as a sophomore. He's still 21 years old. He's a legit 7 foot. And the thing with him is that if the scoring and the shooting is legit, I still worry about the deep. My thing with him is like I've been trying to figure out like I think he might just be Christian Wood, where he's just like a talented, athletic guy that just is not quite up to the caliber of defender that you need to be for a big in order to be a legit like defensive anchor, build your team around. But if he is and he gets better at that shit on defense, like I think he has an outside shot of being one of the top guys. If you look at like the history, I think that there are 2 archetypes of guys that get overlooked. Edie would be the outlier in the other direction, right? Like Edie would be the outlier in like we've gotten so obsessed with like guards and wings and shooting and all that stuff that he would be like the course correction, where it would be like going back to like the more like traditional, like he could anchor your defense, but because he's massive and can protect the rim, but also he can just attack mismatches on the other end, eat on the glass, and destroy teams inside in a way that we didn't really anticipate because, those guys tend to thrive in college and doesn't really translate to the pros. I think Edie is still like a pretty good choice here for the guys that are in this range. If I want to cheat a little bit and extend the range to pick number 8 here, Devin Carter. Here's my thing with Devin Carter and why I've been actually moving him up my board. I know we said we did our final boards last week, but I just have a hard time seeing a guy who reportedly, like Sam Vecini and all these people are saying he's like fucking destroying workouts to the point where like he's playing against guys that are like going to be in the NBA and he's just like killing everyone. The reason why he's going to end up falling to like probably this 8 through, my guess is his range is going to be like 8 through 14 in this draft. Is because he's a little bit older. He's 22 years old. He's 6'2" without shoes. But the thing with him is that he is already, we know that the floor is so high for him because his defense and his rebounding is like insane for a guard. He's a great team defender. The point of attack stuff, I think he needs to get a little bit better at. I talked about this with Chuck, where like, I think the worst case scenario for Devin Carter is like a better version of DeAnthony Melton. Which is like, just a guy that is, a capable creator that can hit spot up threes and is, a good team defender, but struggles a little bit at point of attack sometimes. But the tools for Carter are there in terms of like, he's 6'8". Did you know that he broke the record at the combine for the fastest 3/4 court ever that they've had?
Really? No, I didn't know that.
He broke that. He has someone who collects like combine data shit posted on Twitter that he is, if you go back and you look at the history of the combine, which until recently they didn't make everyone do the combine. More people do the combine than they used to, but now a lot more guys do the combine. He was shattering like records for guys his size in terms of athletic testing, to the point where they were like, they had to go back to 2014 to see who guarded or who of guards and wings that they had in their database who tested better than him at the combine. And do you know who their answer was?
Who was it?
Zach LaVine.
Really?
And Carter tested similarly, had a similar wingspan, had bigger hands than Zach LaVine. Athletically was
interesting.
His vert was similar. He has a lot of these athletic. So if you want to talk about like athleticism, production, getting better every single year, look at where he was at when he turned the ball over 6 times a game as a freshman at South Carolina. He got that down to like, 6 times per 100. He got that down to like, as a lead creator, got that down to like 3.5 or 4 this past year. His passing isn't quite the level you would want for a lead guard, but I think he's really improved as a shooter. He's really improved as an inside the arc guy. And there's one comp that I can think of for him, of a guy who was like seen as like an Avery Bradley, maybe even like Marcus Smart type coming out of college, that actually ended up super like seeding all of that shit and blew past expectations. And Donovan it was Donovan Mitchell. Yeah. And I'm like, crazy athlete. The difference is that Carter got to stay for that extra year in college. Mitchell was 21 when he was drafted and had 2 years and was mainly a role player. Carter got that extra year, and in the one extra year he got, he was player of the year in the Big East, put up all the scoring production that you wanted to see him put up, became an improved pull-up shooter in his year he was there. And like I said, like, yes, he is 6'2", but also he has like a 6'9" wingspan. Yeah. He's a crazy athlete. His dad played in the NBA, which is actually a huge indicator for success for a number of reasons. But I'm like, I moved him up to my tier 1 because I was like, he has all of these outlier indicators that we always look for in prospects. And the only thing people are fading him for is the touch and the shot. And that got better every year. And I just think that like, he's going to be, I don't know if he's going to be like lead star creator level of shooter that he needs to be, but I think that he has an outside shot of being like a top 25 player in the NBA.
I think if you think he's got those indicators, because he's really high on my board because I like him because he's safe. Yeah. I think he's one of the safest players in the draft, like maybe even more so than Klingin. Like I know that guy is going to be a rotation player in the NBA.
Yeah,
but like you said, the worst case scenario is like better Melton. Yeah, you know, like so, and that's a valuable player. Like Melton played for a lot of good teams, you know, like and was important for them. So I'm fine with taking Carter ahead of honestly a lot of guys in this draft. So I totally agree with you. It's going to be nice when I finally unveil my big board later this week, and it's Edie and Carter 1 and 2 because we've just talked about it. Yeah, talk yourself into it.
Well, this is what I have. I had 30% better DeAnthony Melton as his floor.
Yeah,
30% Alex Caruso, 30% Derek White. And then I said, I think there's a 5% chance he could be like not as good as Donovan Mitchell or like Jalen Brunson or these small guards that pop a little bit later in their careers, or later in their development, I should say. Like we knew Mitchell was going to be really good when he was a rookie, but he was 21. And like, even if you look at like Damian Lillard, Tyrese Maxey, all of these guys, what do they have in common? The only, other than Jalen Brunson, they all have massive wingspans.
Yes.
And it's not to say, it's not like most guys that are good in the NBA have big wingspans. Like it's not to say that will dictate Devin Carter's success, but I think it is a prerequisite to be a good star level creator in the NBA that you have to have. If you're a 6'2" or 6'3" guy, you have to have incredibly long arms.
30% Melton, 30% White, 100% reason to remember the name.
Number 1 overall pick, Devin Carter. I was bold enough I put him at number 1 because I just was like on like a tear watching him and just reading into him and was like, I kind of want to buy into this guy. And I was like, I put him at number 1. We'll see if that withstands here over the next 2 nights before the draft. I'm locking it in on draft day because then I'm like, all right, I need this draft to happen so I can just stop watching and obsessing over this. Because every day I'm like, do I want to move this guy? But here's my top tier.
Okay.
My top tier is, this is what I described it: star upside guys with a rotation player floor. So there's no scenario in which I see these 3 guys having like the floor totally fall out and they can't even crack a rotation. And those 3 guys are Devin Carter, Reed Shepherd, and Ron Holland. Those are my 3 guys that I'm riding with being rotation players in the NBA at a minimum and having potential to get to the point where they're stars. My second tier, which is a little bit different, is star upside, but the floor could fall out. And that's guys that, like, I think I can see that they could become a star, but there's a world where, like, Sarr's offense is just not good enough. Topic's athleticism just is not good enough, or his shot doesn't come around. And the other guy I had on here was Zach Edey, and Zach Edey is like, we're making the argument that Edey could be a star, but that's all based on him being the outlier. And if all that shit doesn't fall into place, then I think that his floor potentially could fall out with all the defense shit. But yeah, so I have Sarr, Edey, and then Topic in that tier. And as we get closer to the draft, I'll have a more definitive list here, and we'll reveal it on our draft stream.
I'm getting closer and closer. Like every day, I've got like the telltale Edey thing. Like, and that was the thing I kept thinking about. I was like, I remember how I felt about Steph Curry in that draft, and I was like, I really like Steph Curry as but I've never seen anything like that, and like, I don't know, there's not really a lot of a prerequisite for it. And that's kind of how I feel about Edey. Like, you know, like I've never seen a guy like this before, but we've never seen a guy like this before. So I'm interested. I'm flirting with the idea. And if you aren't going to take a guy like Edey number 1 overall in a draft, this is the draft to do it.
Sure. Like, oh my God. If they actually did that and they were like, Zach Edey's the first pick, I would lose my fucking mind on the stream. We would have our own Bill with Anthony Bennett moment live on.
Yes. Oh man. I would, in a good way. I would do it in a good way. Like if they took Edey, I think he could play for Atlanta. That would be cool. Like that'd be so interesting. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. It's somebody loser is saying we just saw Wemby. Yeah, and Wemby's amazing. Edey is Wemby. Edey is not Wemby, but you know, I'm just saying, we've got Wemby at home.
We have Wemby at home. Yeah, he's the same level of athlete. He moves the same way. He shoots the same way.
What if Wemby went to college? Wemby would have been player of the year if he had gone to college. So
I see someone also saying this. I kind of think if you want to make another bet on an outlier guy in this draft, based on everything we've just described, you have Rob Dillingham's name needs to be in there.
That's true. Yeah.
He's so small, and that's the reason why I've dropped him down my board. Yeah. But in terms of just like skill, in terms of like star power skill, what we look for, a lot of people do this thing where it's like, okay, you know how I always say this, where it's like, well, if Devin Carter was 6'5", he would be the number 1 pick in the draft. And it's like, okay, well, he's 6'2", right? Yeah. Can we look at it the opposite way and say, if this guy was 3 inches shorter, would he be like the thing with Rob is like, you're not going to be able to change the fact that he is 165 pounds. You might be able to get him up to like 175. Even then, I looked it up. There are 3 players in the NBA that were below 170 pounds that were like rotation players at some point in their career that were listed. Do you want to guess who they are? No, right now.
Oh, like now.
Currently in the league.
Chet Holmgren. Let me think. Trae Young.
Trae Young is 1. The other 2, I don't think you're going to get.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Bones Highland, who's a fringe rotation player. That's the fear with Rob Dillingham. Even though Rob has a way better handle, way better shooter. And then the third current active player that is also in this was Isaiah Joe, who...
Interesting.
But the thing with Joe, and this is why I would fear taking Dillingham, okay?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, well, he's Lou Williams. Oh, well, he's Kemba. Oh, well, he's whoever. Every guy he's comped to was dog shit for like 4 years in the NBA.
Yeah.
And if I'm drafting a guy, and even like Isaiah Joe, it took 4, like I know the Sixers fumbled the bag there, but like it took like 4 years for him to be a legit rotation player.
Yeah.
Like every guy that gets drafted that is smaller and like whatever, it takes them a little bit of time to either put on the strength or get used to the way that NBA defenses play. And if you're drafting that guy, like there's a chance you could get fired based on it.
Right.
I'm not going to get fired. So like, I think there's an outside shot that Rob still has a chance to be like the best player in this draft.
I think
he's going to go like 13 or
I was just going to say, he's going to get drafted outside of the top 10, and he's probably going to be a steal for whatever team drafts him. Like everyone's going to be like, why did Rob, like he'll be the Cam Whitmore of this draft. Like, yeah.
Something
maybe
like
even better. Maybe even better. I think better because I actually didn't really like Cam in that draft, and I like kind of understood why he slid a little bit. I think Rob could be good. I'd like in a right situation. The problem is
I had Cam 5 on my board, by the way. If you guys are keeping track, or 6 on my board. Sorry. Anyway,
let's go.
I like them.
Let's see. Somebody was pointing this out today. It might have been Will on Twitter, but like we also have this thing of like doing victory laps like early on guys. Jaime Jaquez is a great player. Jaime Jaquez is not going to be one of the 10 best guys.
We've been saying this. We've been saying this since he's 24 years old. Like, there's going to be there are always
Connect
guys
is going to do this year.
Sure.
Dalton is going to come out of the gates. He's going to make first or second team all rookie for one of these teams. He's not going to be one of the 10 best players in this draft.
No, I mean it's the Will appropriately called Chris Duarte allegations, which is like, I mean, Chris Duarte is like an extreme example of that, where it's like 24-year-old that comes in and is very good and for a rookie and then makes all rookie team. And then by a second season is like not an NBA player like that. Even that's like an outlier.
Can I admit something fucked up? Every time somebody says Chris Duarte's name, TJ Leaf pops into my head instead as like the other fucked up Pacers pick from that era. Like, and I know it's
could not be more different.
I know, but it's well, they both weren't good. So
they have that in common. Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I mean, that's the weird thing about this draft though, is that like I know people always fade the older players, but like there are a lot of guys in this draft that are going to be 24 that get drafted. Most of them won't be NBA players. That's just kind of how it works. Like the thing is that if I look at like the history of like guys that get drafted at 23, 24, it's very rare they even become like starter level players. The majority of them, some do, some, have outlier development where they pop in like their age 26 season or whatever. But the majority of these older guys don't really pan out. And if I'm putting my chips on 3 guys of the older guys to work out from this draft that are like 23, 24, I think the few guys that I would put my chips on are I'd probably go Dalton Connect. I guess I'd go Tristan da Silva, but like, I'm not crazy about Tristan da Silva. I think he's just a bench guy. I think he's just a bench player.
I mean, I do too, but like
that's where I'm like,
I don't like him in like the lottery, but like I think he's a pretty good bet to be like a rotation guy for you. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I hear people say that like people have comped him to like Nicholas Batum, and I'm like, Batum is just 10 times the athlete that Tristan da Silva ever was.
People don't remember young Nick Batum.
Even old Batum is more athletic than him, I think. And like there are plenty of guys that are in this draft that I think like I would rather draft Terrence Shannon Jr. if I'm drafting for athleticism. Like if I'm drafting a guy that I know is an NBA level athlete, 100%. There are plenty of guys in this draft that are older that I would rather take a swing on.
There's like older. There's like some different older guys, but like that's the trade-off with the older guys is like those guys almost are never gonna pop. You know what I'm saying? And even when they do pop, it's something like Bane, where it's like they pop.
But this is my argument with Devin Carter is that Bane wasn't as old as people think. Bane was 22 on draft. Like Bane had just turned 22. He was young for a 4-year guy, which is the thing. That's my pitch on Devin Carter too. Is that like Devin Carter's 22 right now, but like Jalen Williams was 21 on draft night. Donovan Mitchell was 21 on draft night. Like I think there are guys that could be 21 and 22 that pop, but once you hit that 23, 24, it becomes rarer and rarer that you are like a legit NBA player at that age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People forget Tim Duncan was 22 when he was drafted.
That's what I'm saying. Devin Carter is Tim Duncan.
Tim Duncan.
That's why the Spurs should draft him at 8 over Stephen Castle, who is a fake, who is not real. Yeah, Stephen Castle. I want to put money on the fact that Devin Carter will be a much better NBA player than Stephen Castle.
I might join you on that.
I'm totally sold on that idea.
Okay, I can tell you who Carter will definitely be better than is Matas Buzelis. I'm gonna lose my mind on the draft stream when Buzelis gets drafted in the top 5, dude. I'm
projected to go to Detroit. Let's go. Number 5 overall.
Everyone's saying that too. Like that's the intel. Trajan Langdon, you are no Troy Weaver, good sir, if you do this.
Zach Edey, 22 still. Just saying. When you hit 23, you're dead to me.
You're dead.
But if you're 22, that's the cutoff.
Yeah, 22.
Chris Middleton, Jimmy Butler. I think Jimmy Butler might have been 23.
I think he was 20. No,
he might have been 22.
Let me see. Jimmy Butler draft age.
Is there what this comes down to? Even Jalen Brunson was 21 or 22.
Yeah.
Like what this comes down to is that if you are 23 on draft night, your all-star hopes are gone.
22 in 2011, 2012.
How old was Pascal Siakam? We need Pascal. I know Mikal Bridges was 21 on draft night. What about Pascal Siakam?
What about Dame? What was it? I'll find Pascal.
Dame was 22, I think.
Dame was 22.
Dame was 22. Halliburton was 21.
22.3 for Pascal Siakam.
22. I'm telling you, it's the last age that you can get in on. Yeah. Before a guy becomes a star in the NBA is if they're 22, they have a chance.
23-year-old, Buddy Hield. Bust.
There you go. Actually, he was 25.
Oh.
Remember they kept adding years? Yeah, he was actually 24 on draft night because he was like, that was actually wrong on my birth. I think, I'm not even joking. I think he was 25 on draft night. Buddy Hield is like 31 years old now.
That's crazy. That is nuts.
We're really just naming some guys right now. Yeah, we've gone full name.
22. I like this rule though. This is like when Bill. This is like the less stupid version of Bill's 42. Like you had up the points, rebounds, and assists.
Yes,
and that's.
It was Giddey in the 42 club.
Yeah, I can't wait. Let's get it. Let's get him in the 42 club.
Yeah, I think he's only in the under 18 club. Yeah. So yeah, let's wrap up this stream. We'll get more. I'm sure we'll get more slop tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Join us for the draft on Wednesday. We'll be streaming Wednesday and Thursday, and then Sunday we will be back for the free agency stream. And then if there are any major trades or anything, I'll do an emergency stream between now and then. Sign up for the Patreon if you have not already. You can get extra episodes, including all the stream audio on the Patreon. We just hit over 700, so that's awesome.
And quite frankly, I don't give a fuck. I'm JJ Redick.
So, you're going epic mode.
I'm epic.
You're the epic coach mode.
I'm saying friggin' F words. I don't care. I'm done with podcasting. Now I can say the F word. Oh yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. No, I'm not allowed to.
How could you do that?
I can't end my podcasting career. Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for joining. We'll be back tomorrow. Take care. Bye. Peace.